Welcome to the Gaudium et Spes podcast, where every other week we bring you Catholic teachings and stories of faith from people throughout the Diocese of Pensacola-Tallahassee. Now, here are your hosts, Suzanne McNinch and Chez Filippini.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Gaudium et Spes podcast. It's your host, Chez Filippini, and as you can see, I'm flying solo today. Suzanne McNinch, our other host, is unfortunately doing her real diocesan job back at the Pastoral Center in Pensacola, so we wish her well. We'll have her back on the next one. But yeah, if you're watching or you're listening, we are here in Tallahassee at the Co-Cathedral of St. Thomas More for a special episode with Mrs. Sheila Hopkins, to talk about an amazing ministry in our country and also in our diocese called the Council of Catholic Women. So, Sheila, thanks for joining us. Welcome along.
Well, thank you so much, Chez, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Reminder, if you didn't catch the last episode, we had a great teaching episode from Bishop Bill on the titles of Mary, the title of Mother of God, Theotokos, and all of these various amazing attributions we have to her. But as always, though, guys, we start out with the first line of the document that our podcast is named after, Gaudium et Spes, which goes, "The joys and the hopes, the griefs and anxieties of the men of this age, especially those who are poor or in any way afflicted. These are the joys and the hopes, the griefs and anxieties of the followers of Christ." So, Sheila, that's where we throw it over to you. What's going on in your life? Joys, hopes, griefs, anxieties, anything?
Yes, of course, we just had Christmas, and that was a wonderful time to go visit our children. We have a son and his wife down in Bradenton, Florida, where they have an air conditioning company. Our daughter, that is the housing director at a university in Michigan, came down to spend time with us.
That's cool.
And then drove up to Alabama to see our daughter and son-in-law with the 3 grandchildren.
Nice.
So that's always a lot of fun. They're 11, 13, and 15, so they're a handful, but they are our joy. But as far as the griefs, I think, what a lot of people are worried about now is, first of all, we've got the war going on, and that's, very concerning, and especially all the people being killed over there, in the battles, and, the immigrants, what's going on against them. When I was employed with the Catholic Conference, that was one of our areas that we were very concerned about, the farm workers. And so, we've got a lot of good things in our society, but we've also got a lot of ways to go to improve what's going on. And we hope that the younger generation will step up and say, no, this is not right. We need to stand up for people because we're all created by God. And so I just think that is really so important. You don't have to belong to a specific religion to know that we're human beings and that we should be very concerned about what happens to people. We've talked about it, Suzanne has mentioned, just kind of the heaviness of the news. I mean, it's never not heavy, but some things going on are just like, it lives in your mind, it lives in your heart, it occupies in the good moments your prayer, as far as offering up intentions. Absolutely. And it's something that, even though it's a half a world away or a couple states away or something like that, it's always something to bring to prayer. So, Well, anyway, speaking of full houses, it sounded like you all had a full house over the holidays. My brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, Kevin and Mariah, you don't listen, but thank you for coming up to, we just had a recent experience. We had 10 people in the house. They stayed for a weekend, and they have our 2 nieces, Haley and Riley, who are 2 and 13 months. Oh, and it was a zoo, man. It was a total zoo. It was very fun. That's fun. It was so fun. It was a lot of screaming, a lot of kids not eating their dinner, but also a lot of, we already have our 4, but then you had 2 more in the mix, and it's just like this little, what is it, the Tasmanian devil or the Roadrunner? Like, it just looks like this little whirlwind of chaos all the time. And of course, Maria's our 5-year-old mischief maker. She immediately found out that Haley, when she's not hungry, but when she wants to get her way, says, chocolate milk, chocolate milk. Oh. So Maria's sitting right next to Haley, and Haley's kind of sitting there, just kind of minding her business. She goes, chocolate milk. And Haley just goes, chocolate milk, chocolate milk, chocolate milk. And it ruins the whole dinner, ruins everything. And Maria laughs her little head off. So it was fun. Enjoy them while they're young, because then they get big.
Yeah, I know. I can already see the mischief that's going to just grow and grow and grow. So, but a beautiful time of year still.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, Sheila, we first got to know each other back in 2008. I was just graduated my bachelor's and was looking for a job actually here in Tallahassee, and met you when you were the associate director for Social Concerns Respect Life.
Yes, I usually had women as my assistant. And I remember this handsome young man coming in the office and interviewing for the position. And I was very impressed, by your demeanor and your education, what you had majored in. You know, I think that is so an important issue. And of course, that's helped you in your profession.
Yeah.
That you ended up in that profession, marriage and family life. So, but you did a great job.
Thank you, Sheila. And you all, I mean, some of the mentors, guys, if you don't know the work of the Florida Catholic Conference, when I was there, Sheila Hopkins had been there and accomplished so many things. Michael Sheedy, who's the now director, was right next door to me as the director of health. Right. And then, of course, the legendary Dr. McCarran was there at the time. And it was a real, for me being a 22-year-old, fresh out of CSU, getting ready to start out life, I was like, oh, these people are, first of all, grown-ups, but also faithful and just totally dedicated, but also willing to put an arm around young people who they knew were probably coming in and out of the door a little bit. And so if I never thanked you, it was awesome to spend my year there and learn from you all. And I've never, ever forgotten it. So, okay. That all aside, we're going to get to that story. We're here to talk about the Council of Catholic Women, which you were not only have been a part of and stuff, but you were the national president of all the Council of Catholic Women. And we're going to hear about all that work. We're going to start, though, Sheila, to be the Council of Catholic Women national president kind of speaks to a person who's lived their life in dedication to the faith. So where'd you start out as far as your Catholic journey?
My grandmother, Mary Emma, was really my mentor in life. Back in the day, the councils were normally could be a sodality, but Rosary Altar was the normal name they would use, the Rosary Altar Society. And she would bring me to the meetings. And, back then, they would have wakes when people died. They would have them in the homes. And so they would have the casket, and the women would come over there and pray, whereas now you go to the funeral home. And so she was very influential in my life, and that's why I have all my Mary statues and rosaries here today, because I was baptized Sheila Mary, and that kind of stuck with me. And Dr. McCarran used to call me Sheila Mary when I was at work. But she started me on that road, and when I came to college, they didn't really. I came to St. Thomas More. This was my original home from away from home, and it was a student center, but I did not participate per se. But I was invited to come to some of the Council of Catholic Women activities. We have a yearly convention in our diocese. And then I went to the national convention, and that was a real eye-opener to see people from around the country. It's happening all over, and it was created by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. So we're, surely in close contact and connection with the bishops of Florida. And we are very blessed as far as bishops is our own Bishop Walk is the Episcopal liaison between the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and the National Council of Catholic Women, and we are very excited to have him.
Yeah.
He's a joy to be with, and he's very supportive, and it's just been great to have him. And before him, actually, Bishop Parks was the Episcopal liaison right before Bishop Walk. So I keep telling him he can't answer calls from the papal nuncio because we don't want him to be moved out of our diocese. But he is truly a blessing, and that is so important for the women to feel that they have that support.
That's awesome.
But
so you were in college or just graduated when you were first being invited into the CCW?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So back then, most parishes had it. Like I said, they were called Rosary Altar Society or Sodality, and in this diocese, we are organized by deaneries, as you know, and so there are certain number of parishes in the deaneries, and then it goes up to the diocesan council. So you have representatives on the diocesan board that meets 3 times a year, and the usual president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and in your actual positions like legislative advocacy and spirituality leadership service, but we've been around since 1976 here in our parish in St. Thomas More. But the National Council was created in 1920. And back then, the USCCB was called the War National Council. I don't know if you Yeah. And it was at the time of the war, literally.
Just right after World War I? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so that's when they decided to organize women, because women were the ones going out in the streets and feeding the poor and the hungry, and just trying to, because the men went off to war. And you probably know that some women also had to go off to war and work in the building airplanes, because the men were out fighting, so somebody had to do it. So The women were building the airplanes.
Wow.
So the bishop said, we need to probably organize the women because they're doing all this great work. And so that's how it started.
That's fascinating.
The social welfare school, Catholic social welfare school, was started near the Catholic University it's called the Clifton House, and it was a separate house. And they said, "Hey, women, you create a social work program," and so that's kind of where that started through the Catholic Church.
Wow. That is fascinating. So the Knights of Columbus being maybe the male analog, Father McGivney starts that, and it grows and grows. But you guys are a direct creation of the bishops themselves that wanted to kind of harness this energy around this time and stuff. So
we're organized, through provinces, and we meet by province, and so we have provinces at I don't know how many there are. I think there's 33 or something like 32, 33 provinces around the United States. So we do have a province conference, which in our province is the province of Miami, and so we meet once a year for the province conference too. So we have it's very structured, which is good because you have a good way to plan programs and execute them because you have the membership.
I want to revisit a little bit, kind of the CCW speaks clearly. You're not taking a salary or anything like that. This is like a voluntary organization stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's something you feel called to. Can you, beyond kind of this invitation and maybe again to work at the Florida Catholic Conference, to go as far as you have a CCW, speaks to like a calling that is like, there's something that the Lord just doesn't want me to just go to Mass on Sunday. Maybe where the origins of that are? Is it just like you have natural gifts and people are always like, help us, or talk more about that?
I guess because my faith was very important to me, and my family, my parents did not practice the faith, but my grandmother did, and so I had that encouragement, and so I just felt drawn to that. I always liked being with the women's group, even though I was the youngest one. I enjoyed being with them, and so I think that was kind of the mothering, influence on me. And I think that's what women find: the friendship, and also I don't know what the power is the right word to use, but we have the ability to do things.
That's right.
We're doers. We're doers, not just hearers of the word, as it says. And so that's something that we take seriously. But I I got involved and decided that I wanted to be more active. And our 3 pillars are spirituality, leadership, and service in the Council of Catholic Women. And so we do projects. We do projects for the church. We do projects for the community. We help people. As we just were talking, I've mentioned, it's just like human trafficking. That is an issue that we have worked against, and worked on legislation. We've gone into farm worker camps and talked to them, and because some of them get trafficked too.
Okay.
But also I remember going to the camps down near Orlando, and it's just horrible how they live. And these old trailers, and they're about to fall apart. And that's what's hurtful when people start talking bad about the immigrants, but they don't realize that our economy in Florida depends on them. I mean, who do they think's picking the oranges and the tomatoes? Because it's not the Americans. And I remember several years ago in California, the Farmer Association there said there's like 30,000 jobs open, and anybody can come and apply for these jobs. Well, I think like 7 or 12 people applied, but they're not going to do those jobs. So it's just an example of society, what happens in society, and so that as Christian Catholic people, we are called to respond to that. And I think that's important, and that's really, prayer is obviously big, as I have my rosaries. Mary has always been in my heart, and people give me rosaries and statues because they know how close I am. I keep her in my heart and in prayers. But I think we're called to act and not just go to church.
That's right. So clearly, I mean, like, this is to talk about having impact on issues as large and as an immigrant issue and workers' dignity and rights and stuff like that. This is something that goes beyond. We don't just look at our parish and kind of what needs to be done there. We're looking at what can we do in society.
Exactly.
So maybe to get to your time at the national level from 2015 to 2017, where you have like your finger on the pulse of a lot of things. What were some of the big priorities or big moments that marked that time?
The big project we did was we decided to do 1 million works of mercy.
Oh, wow.
A lady in Tennessee called me up and said, I have this great idea, that why don't we create categories of, what are works of mercy, what are or spirituality. And so I said, well, are you going to keep count? She said, yes, I will. So we went for 1 million was our goal, and we had over 2 million,
oh my gosh,
which, from around the United States. So we were so pleased that we were able to encourage people to do that.
So this
feed
is
the hungry,
in
clothe the
conjunction
naked, right?
With the Pope's Year of Mercy, right, in 2014, 15, something
it was
like that.
It was right after that.
Okay.
That I think that was what encouraged me to say, okay, well, let's do that. And so we made a difference. And I think we still do a lot. And don't get me wrong, and we didn't stop there. But it was just a way to really encourage people to think more about it and to act. And it's not that we. It's just important that we're out there, and because most of us have it pretty well in life. But I was really blessed because they decided we wanted to present a certificate to the Pope, and so we planned a pilgrimage over there. We tried very hard to get we even had somebody who knew somebody in the household to get an audience with them, but we didn't. But at the Wednesday audience, I had a seat when you go around the table, and I was able to meet the Pope. And this is the rosary that they hand you a rosary, and I gave him a copy of the certificate. I have a picture of that, and so it was awesome. It was so moving. It was like you're looking at the face of God. That's the way I can describe it. So.
Wow, that's impactful. And presented him with we responded to your call of real actual works of mercy. That's amazing. Other things going on at the time. I'm sure the life of a president has a lot of kind of structural, bureaucratic things, a lot of events and handshaking and stuff.
Well, one of the other things that we've done is help the bishops. They had a big convocation in Orlando. Back in the day, 2017, and we were one of the major sponsors, and we were there. We marched through the streets. I don't know if you remember that. It was a time when there was a little fear about people targeting us, but hey, we went out there. They had priests and bishops with the cross, and we walked all around the Civic Center down there. So we were just wanting to show that, hey, you're not going to back us down. We're here. We're going to do it.
It was one of my first experiences working in the diocese. I ended up on our diocesan trip down there. It was incredible. We knew when we got there, it was like, whoa, this is not a cheap event to put on. There was 3,000-4,000 people there, plus I think almost every bishop attended or something like that.
Yeah, there was a lot.
It was the best organized, maybe the most impactful national event I'd ever been to. It was, anyhow, I won't go on and on about it, but I can vouch from the ground level. It was
we were one of the sponsors there.
Gotcha.
They had a symposium on social, I guess it was human trafficking also, and in Washington, D.C., and we sponsored that. So we try to look at how we can make a difference, because we're not really wealthy, but we do charge dues, and we have some fundraising, and so we want to see, how can we support the bishops? And so if they have some kind of event that they're looking for sponsors, that we always want to be one of their sponsors. I think that's important to us.
Yeah. Talk to me about, one of the things people join any kind of civic organization, especially parish ones, is honestly friendship, camaraderie,
absolutely.
Being encouraged in your faith. I don't know if you can speak to personal moments where you've seen kind of the bonds between the women. I don't know, beautiful stories, kind of moments that stick out to you or anything like that. Or
I think one of the things that's very touching is when we reach out to the young women and they come and you can see their face light up when people talk to them and just to encourage them. And I think that the young girls these days need that. Yeah. There's sometimes so much isolation, and unfortunately there's a lot of judgmental attitudes when they're in high school. Is a difficult time. And so we tried to be sort of a link there, and the women try to reach out. And we created this program, the Golden Rose Award, specifically to try to again, encourage young women and not make them feel like, don't let these people put you down because you're a child of God and they don't have any right to judge you. And it's given to 8th graders. We've only done it for about, 3 years. It's a national award, but it's also, we do it in the diocese, and we're going to do it for the first time this year in our diocese. And Bishop Bill is very excited about it. Going to send out, the letters come from him, and they're going to go to all the principals of high schools. It's geared for 8th graders,
cool.
and then also the CCD programs. And so the women will be nominated. There's a form, and they'll send it in, and then we'll judge that, and then somebody will be chosen. And it could be more than one Golden Rose Award, but we're going to have a luncheon. I think it's on May 4th. We've already scheduled, because you have to get on the bishop's schedule.
Yeah.
And but we're excited to be able to do that, because I think that gives women a sense of worth.
Yeah.
They've been doing some programs in Miami for several years because, they have a lot of people from other countries, from Cuba and from some of the, other Spanish-speaking countries. And sometimes it's hard to assimilate them into the regular population, and so the women reach out to them, and that's what's good is they have them come into their group, and they invite them to their meetings, and they encourage them to participate. So I think it's all about reaching out. That's what we're supposed to do. I love the scripture. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That is my motto, so to speak. And I think that people they only realized how much power they have personally to make a difference in somebody else's life. And I think that that's really what I enjoy about the Council of Catholic Women, because that's what we try to do, to make a difference to the church, but also for people.
Yeah. This reminds me, being here at the Co-Cathedral, again, from my time at Florida State, Ellen Murphy. I don't know if has she been part of the Council of Catholic Women? Not
very active. She was, her husband was sick and died, and so she was busy at the church.
She was still kind of, even if she wasn't as involved and stuff, kind of embodied. She made an impact on so many young women here.
She did
by just that willingness to reach out, to have like a mature kind of solid foundation, especially in the midst of turmoil and stuff like that. She made a tremendous difference in people's lives. And I think there's a feminine genius there that only a woman can do that kind of work. But you can talk to dozens of CSUers of different eras, and they'll be like, that woman, talking with her, being invited in, feeling like that was a home for me at the parish.
It was good because as the secretary, she was here all the time, and the students were in and out, and so that gave them an outlet I know several of them that, she would counsel, and
that's right.
And it was good. And so that's what, again, we don't have that every daily contact with people, but that's why we have different events for different things, to bring them in to us, and so that they can get that mentorship.
Yeah. You're telling me before we started the episode, another initiative related to all this, kind of supporting younger women, is the PURSE, not the Burse Club, the Burse Club for men. Seminarians. Which maybe you've seen in your pew at some point in time. Or,
we do. The Burse Club's very big in our diocese, and because we're not a wealthy diocese. And that supports all of our seminarians. And I remember several years ago, Bishop Parks arranged for me to speak to the seminarians down there.
Okay.
So that was good. And I kind of started a teaser. I said, "You like candy and you like food, don't you?" And so just letting them know that we're here to help them. Yeah. Don't be afraid of us. And I think some priests think they think we're going to try to tell them what to do. No, we're here to help you. So anyway, it was an interesting experience. But I had a young lady from this parish who came to me, and she needed some funding. When you go to study,
to discern religious life,
that you cannot have any debt. In other words, you can't come with car payments or student debt or whatever. So because they can't pay, the order can't pay. So so the pastor sent her to me, and I said, "Well, let me think about that." And so what we decided was to start the PURSE Club in conjunction with the Religious Alliance for Religious Vocations.
Okay.
And so they are our partners, and the women apply to them. We raise the money and we send it to them, and then the women apply to them, and they accept and give them grants. If they complete their initiation into the order, they don't owe any money. If they decide after a discernment of 6 months that, it's not for them, and that's important. They need to have that opportunity to discern if that's religious life is for them. And then they would just pay back what they had paid for the 6 months. But it's been great. I know that we've had over 40 women who have applied for those grants. 12 of them did discern out because they decided it was not what they wanted to do, but the 28 went in different orders all around the United States. It's really awesome. Different orders all around the United States is awesome. And so I think it's just a good way. We just felt we needed to have some way to support women because that's what we do, and especially with religious. I mean, we need them. So many of this, we have such a decrease. When I went, when my kids went to school, there wasn't very many. When I was growing up, I lived in South Florida, and the priest came over from Ireland, and he brought the Sisters of Mercy from Cork County, Ireland.
As you do.
And we had like about 5 or 6 nuns. They built not a rectory, but where they live. And we had nuns that taught us, but now you rarely see it. A school may have 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But so it's important we continue to try to encourage women to seek that if that's what they think that they want to do.
Well, I never, the era of like maybe the nuns that you grew up with, and even into the 60s and 70s, usually you were looking at a woman who was just graduating from high school or,
right.
Certainly not in the era of massive student debt and all these kinds of things. So there were these. Now I knew I was like, oh, you want to go and you want to go to the convent and like start your postulancy, but you're going to have to work for 3 or 4 years in order to pay off
the debt.
Because maybe when you started college, you started taking out loans, the religious life wasn't on the horizon. You have a conversion, and all of a sudden you're still 30 or 40 grand in debt, and then you're just like, well, what can I do? So this is a real concrete.
That's right.
You're going to make that instead of 3 years, you're going to go when you want to. So that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's what we try to look at. Well, what's the problem that we can help solve? And there's a lot of them. But anyway, we've just, like I said, that's the beauty of the Council of Catholic Women, because if we see a problem or there's something that we want to do, and certainly supporting the bishops all the time with different initiatives that they are pushing, then that's what we want to do.
Yeah. Maybe the last thing you mentioned earlier on the national level, you have a big convention where Bishop Bill shows up and, I don't know, tell us about it. It sounds fun. It sounds like
It is. Yeah, we always have a theme, and we have, speakers. The fun thing that we had this year was that the entertainment didn't show up. We were in Minneapolis, and they didn't show up. And so some of the priests, Father Miguel from Orlando has a great voice and plays the guitar. And so some of the priests and one of the bishops got up and sang songs. And that was our entertainment at the banquet. It was awesome. But we have speakers come in on different topics, and we have workshops. And it's just a good way to get with women. We have, of course, liturgy every day, and we have we pray the rosary, and we just, we have a lot of religious part of it, but we also have the time where we usually take an outing somewhere in the community.
Okay.
They had a group that put on a play, and so some people went to the play, but it's just a good way you meet other people from around the United States, and it's a good way to get ideas. I think that's what we found is that, you can share information, but it makes you feel good. But Bishop Bill came and he had a good time. So
I bet he did.
Yeah. He comes and he sits at the meetings. The first year, God bless him, he would sit there through all the workshops, and I finally went over and I said, Bishop Bill, you really don't have to sit there, through all the workshops. You can just, come to the meetings and do what you want to. He was trying to be a good servant. And so, but we're just really pleased to have him because he doesn't come to our regular meetings. In fact, I'm going next week to NCCW for our board meetings.
Gotcha.
We meet twice a year at the retreat house, and then we meet at the convention site. So,
but it's one of these things, people are used to professional, what are their career? They'll usually be like a trade equivalent of a national convention. For faith, though, a lot of the time it's an experience at the local level. So something like an NCCW convention is like, it's the great, big, huge American Catholic Church. And there's a lot of people involved and a lot of, like I said, a lot of different ideas. So that's cool. As we kind of go towards the end here, can you tell us, we're going to mention what is going on in our diocese. If you could paint the picture for the average parish affiliate in our diocese, elsewhere in the country, what can you expect? What does it look like?
Right. Well, I'm encourage women to look at our Diocesan Council of Catholic Women. If they don't belong, most parishes have their own affiliation. And if you check with your parish, you see it in the bulletin or whatever, see when they meet and what they do, because everybody does different things. They might be doing the Walking with Moms in Need program, or doing something for the kids. There's just different things. Each parish can choose what they want, but they can also use the ideas that come down from the National Council, and that's our idea. We try to promote it. But it starts at the national and it comes down to the provinces. And so each province has a province director and a board, and they usually represent, like the spirituality, leadership, and service components, and the diocesan presidents are on the province board. Then the diocesan presidents come back and they have their diocese, however many deaneries are in their diocese. So I think we have 5 in ours now, but I'm not sure, 5 or 4 in ours. And then the deaneries break down to the parishes. And so you join at the parish level. They all have a small amount of dues you pay, and then you decide that the parish decides what they want to do. Their pastor may have a particular thing. One of the things that a lot of them do is the Boxes of Joy for Catholic Relief Services. So that's a big national program that we do. The other thing is the feeding. The packing the food.
Yes,
that
this
we did.
Was huge.
Yeah,
this
we
year
did that.
In our diocese.
Yeah, we were over there, and we packed. I forgot how much, like 52,000 meals. I think. So we do a lot of different things, and that's the beauty of it. You don't have to go to all of them. You can pick and choose what you want to, but it's the idea that you belong and you're making a difference. And I think that that's really what I would encourage women to take the opportunity to do that. And you're not required to come to every meeting. You could pick and choose what you want to be involved in, but it's a great way to meet other women who have your values.
Yeah, it sounds like you're, if you want to be more active in your faith, the Council of Catholic Women is going to provide you with plenty of different options on how to do it. They're going to feed your prayer life, but they're also going to invite you into larger efforts. Right. Some of which is kind of your normal, like helping out at various parish events and stuff like that. But also things that don't normally happen, food packing events and national conventions and wider efforts. So that sounds intriguing. I'm not eligible, obviously, but
sorry.
Yeah, but no, people get in the stage of life where they're just like, I need to do more, So
I think it's good too for families because sometimes there are events that the families can come, and I just think it gives the women, if they're working and they have their family, this gives them another option to help their spirituality, especially. I think that is good. It helps there, and also just gives them another outlet, a healthy outlet. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people in the society who they end up drinking, doing drugs or whatever because they get frustrated and they don't have an outlet, and so they unfortunately get into those bad habits. But this way, you have healthy things to pick and choose from what you want to be involved in, and you are making a difference. I think that's what I really like about it, is that you are making a difference in someone's life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, it's time to give you the launch pad, guys. If you have not heard of NCCW or CCW or DCCW, in our diocese, the website is DCCW.org, right? I got that right. There you're going to see our deaneries, the various parish affiliates there. And I'm sure probably if you have belonged to a parish for at least a little bit of time, you may have seen a bulletin announcement or some kind of advertisement. But you'll find a contact there at the parish level, or if you don't have one at your parish, you can join, maybe talk to a deanery representative. But we have a very active one. We have a yearly, not only things like the food packing event, we have a yearly convention in our diocese, which always has a great speaker, some theological content, prayer together, service and stuff. So we got it going on around here.
Yeah, and they can also go to the NCCW.org website and look at what NCCW does, because there are a lot of programs and things that they might want to get involved in. You can be an individual member of NCCW too, and you get a magazine quarterly, and you have all kinds of materials online that you can download. So it's another good place to look if you decide you want to do a little bit more.
Well, guys, I would love to hear, selfishly, I would love to hear all of Sheila's war stories from legislative sessions and Governor Jeb Bush stories, all these kinds of things. We didn't touch on any part of that.
No, we should do that another time.
We should do that another time. Another episode in the books in the future. But until then, guys, we just thank you for joining us again. Please check out your local affiliates, our diocesan deaneries, to learn more about the CCW and their work. But we'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time for another teaching episode with Bishop Bill.
Thank you for tuning in today to the Gaudium et Spes podcast. If you would like to know more about our podcast, please visit our website, gaudiumetspes.net, or go to ptdiocese.org and click the button that says podcast. If you listen to the audio version from an app such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, be sure to rate, review, and comment. If you watched us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe or leave us a comment there as well. Thank you for joining us.